And I would like to explain or to put some examples you to understand better what is the challenge that Cuba is facing every day. They decided to include Cuba in one unilateral list of countries that supposedly sponsor terrorism. It's completely unfair. They cannot put on the table a single example that Cuban revolution is supporting any kind of terrorist action any place. But the contrary, Cuba has been, during all these 5 years in the revolution, a victim of the terrorist actions that are committed from the U.S. territory with financial support of the U.S. agency, CIA, or including U.S. Agency for International Development, this USAID, that they are trying to eliminate now. And this has cost for our population many losses in human life, in financial resources, and material resources. The second one, for example, they are prosecuting all the international transaction, financial transaction of Cuba to any international bank, including here. So no one single bank of the world can escape for these sanctions of the US because they are the dominance of the international financial system, and they impose sanctions to those banks that work with Cuba. You could imagine what difficult is for us to buy anything in the international market. They have restricted the right of the US citizens to travel to Cuba by free. They cannot do. No flights, no possibility to pay in Cuba, to make any transactions with the Cuban entities, but they even don't allow the Cuban Americans that live in US. We have almost 2 million Cuban Americans living there. They are not allowed, the Cuban American, not even to travel to Cuba and not send remittances to their relatives in Cuba. There is not one country in the world that supports this kind of measures against its economy. They also have developed a strong international system to control all the companies that are supplying oil to Cuba. And these has introduced a lot of limitation to the natural power system in our country, to the normal development of the Cuban economy, to the agriculture, to any sector of the Cuban economy, because it's a limitation not to have the possibility to produce power light, and to supply for the industries and so on. And this also is an immense challenge that Cuba is facing today.